Okay, so Wednesday, March 15th, 2023, 2:53, Union Station, and then walking around from, yeah, I was basically on my way from Metro Hall to Union Station, to Metro Hall to get a coffee and lunch, and then to St. Felix to get coffee, or to get lunch, and then more lunch, and then on the streetcar back, and then back to Union Station. So yeah, and then this video is basically like after I've had a full night's rest. This video is made after having a full night's rest from visiting my parents' house. After being a homeless, like non-stop, for a week, visiting emergency departments, being woken up and stuff like that. Like, this is me having a full night's rest. Like a proper fucking rest, right? This is me defending myself, essentially. Like, I'm like, okay, like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do when I've had a full night's rest? How am I gonna, like, effectively use my time? So I'm gonna basically, like, try to use my time effectively, or while I'm most effective, I'm gonna just try to communicate as, I'm gonna try to communicate as much as possible so that, like, I can help people understand where I'm coming from with regards to just why I'm requesting peaceful assisted suicide safely in emergency departments. So yeah, like that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, and this is that video, and like, yeah, just I'm not even gonna edit it. I'm just gonna I'm not even gonna reorient it. So it's literally just gonna be like fucking, like, all I can do at this point is basically create a video that's like basically as raw as possible, because I don't have the time and energy to deal with this, because I'm homeless for 7 days a week. I'm homeless for 7 days a week, with the exception of 12 hours being at my parents' house, and that's it. Okay, so my next fucking step is basically taking all the video recordings that I did today and sticking them into a YouTube video, and then taking that YouTube video and possibly making it private for the time being, so that, like, when I have a fucking doctor for assisted death, because I'm waiting for them to basically get back to me, I'll have, like, something that I can, like, I'm like, okay, you don't know a lot about me, but, like, here's a video that I fucking prepared so that, like, you can empathize with me. I didn't really want you to empathize with me, or anyone to empathize with me whatsoever. I just wanted you guys to take my word when I said, like, I need assisted dying, and then, like, yeah, you just take my word for it, and then, like, you won't have to fucking empathize, but now you're gonna have to fucking empathize. So, like, my next step is basically figure out how to take all the videos that I made just now, today, and put them into a video that I can, like, literally, like, send in a link in an email. You know what I mean? They don't even have to, like, so the video file can just be copied and pasted and then linked, and then they can just copy the link, or just click the link, and then they'd be directed to this, like, fucking, like, hour-long video of, like, a day in the life of Harley, like, at this time period, right? That's it, like. And then I'm like, and then they can, like, sort of, like, and then when I'm in the meeting with them, right, and they're like, what's the problem? And then I have one of those, like, literally, like, go off, like, because they're like, hey, Harley, like, what's the problem? And then I'm like, I want assisted suicide, and then they're like, well, we can't do that for you, man, I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, but wait. And then, like, I'm in the train station later going, like, that fucking meeting was bullshit. Because, like, realistically, no one should have to fucking sit there and watch someone beating themselves up. You know what I mean? No one should have to fucking watch that, right? I don't want to fucking watch that, Like, I literally, like, I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I'll do some volunteering, help some people out who, for whatever reason, can't fucking help themselves, right? And then, like, while I'm volunteering, I'm like, oh, well, I already arrived at the conclusion, like, long before I was fucking volunteering, that I just take my money, fucking donate it, right? Take my tools, fucking donate my fucking tools, you know? And then fucking end my life before I get like this, right? Because I don't want to be like this. But literally someone's like, no, we want to see you be, we want to see you fucking, you know, like, get angry and aggressive and fucking, like, communicate. And I'm designed not to be fucking communicative, right? I'm not supposed to be a fucking good communicator. I'm supposed to fucking build things, right? That's my fucking job. I'm a fucking ant in a fucking ant farm that just fucking moves dirt from one place to another, right? And then they're telling me I gotta fucking communicate. You know what I mean? That's like taking a fucking magnifying glass and burning a fucking ant. That's what I feel like. And they're like, you seen Bruce Almighty? I'm like, yes, I have fucking seen Bruce Almighty. You know? The problem is, the fucking filing cabinet isn't accessible to everybody. So fuck off! So the other thing is basically like, somebody made the perfectly, like, understandable mistake. Like, I'm just gonna say, because, like, you know what? Like, every mistake at this point is understandable. So I'm like, I gotta go. I don't understand. What's your fucking problem? Like, I gotta go. Because, like, literally, like, someone probably took a look at me in my life and they were like, oh, this person's, like, you know, extremely privileged. And in my opinion, they're, like, not using their privileges, like, to their full potential. You know, and because they're not using their privileges to their full potential, like, we're just gonna take those privileges and give them to someone else. And I'm like, you know what? Fine. You know what I mean? But if you're gonna take my privileges, if you're gonna take anything from me without talking to me, can you just take my life? Like, what's so fucking hard about that? Like, you're literally being like, you're basically being a bully. So you're like, okay, we're gonna, like, secretly take his stuff, right? So that, like, you know, there's no accountability with regards to, 1, assigning blame, 2, getting it back, right? So I'm like, okay, you know? Just like, the other thing is, like, I'm not gonna hunt you down and fucking kill you. And you know I'm not gonna hunt you down and fucking torture you. If anything, I'll fucking suck your dick. But, like, I'm not gonna do that, you know? Because, like, I don't want to reward you for basically taking anything of mine. So, like, I literally just have to sit and beat myself up about it, you know, so that you basically understand, like, how not to treat people and what not to do. You know what I mean? Basically, like Dobby. You know, like Dobby from fucking Harry Potter, where he's like, oh, I'm sorry, master, and then he just beats himself up with a fucking. That's what I'm doing right now, at all times. Like, any fucking noise I make is just like me going like how can I take this situation and beat the shit out of myself so that like I can just literally show everybody, like, yeah, like, see, when you fucking do destructive bullshit to people, right, to use them incognitely, like, you know, like, against, like, without their consent or knowledge, then, like, all I have to do is just, like, beat myself up till I'm fucking dead. And I was like, that's probably why people are on fucking that's probably why people are on, like, some heavy fucking street drugs that are, like, super harmful. You know what I mean? Where they're, like, taking needles, like, from a needle dispenser, basically, used, that are, like, fucking hook-shaped, that, like, when they go into your vein, they, like, make a hole that's, like, easily triple the size. So it's just, like, it just rips apart the vein because they're trying to fucking die. You know what I mean? Everybody's all the drug addicts are just fucking dobbies, you know? They're just literally, like, beating themselves up to just, like, show others that, like, you know, stuff is fucked up. And I'm like, yeah. Because that's all they can do. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm fucking doing too. I was like, I already knew that. I was like, literally, like, I don't want to stick around for this bullshit, right? I literally said, like, I was like, when I was a fucking teenager, I was like, yeah, I was on board with fucking assisted suicide. You don't want to be homeless? Go fucking commit suicide. Like, we should have a fucking suicide department, right? Now that I'm homeless, I still feel the same fucking way. If I operate on that standard with regards to basically, like, thinking that people will be turned off, anytime I'm just, like, totally open with what's on my mind, right? Then I'm basically, like, they could be essentially turned off or dialed down, not turned off, right? So, like, if they're dialed down, like I was, right, with medication, that was basically just, like, I don't know, I don't even fucking understand. Like, if they get dialed down, then they can hear everything I'm saying. They just can't do anything about it. And they won't necessarily process it in the time that they have
like in the time that they have that happening, so that they can't ask questions about it. So if they're dialed down and they can't ask questions about like what's going on around them when it's happening, then essentially it's just like a big fucking rape show, you know? And like, I'd really rather not participate in a giant fucking rape show, right? Where it's just like, yeah, you got a whole bunch of things happening that are not right, you know? And then no one can do anything about it because they're getting raped. And then when they're given the ability to like do whatever they want after being raped, you know, they just basically like try to fucking cope and heal so that they can get fucking raped again. And I'm like, let's not, you know, like assisted dying makes a lot of fucking sense, guys. Like, they're like, how do we distract his brain with comedy and also just like tactile stuff so that he's like walking around, not in solitary confinement, but like just busy enough so that he's not fucking concentrating on assisted dying at all times. This is how. Fucking in between there and the sidewalk, and then just like, yeah, just fucking at all times, just like look for the distraction technique. Fucking mind control, basically do weird unorthodox shit, and then like hopefully you're entertained by doing weird unorthodox shit, and then like while you're doing that, you're being totally taken out of context, and like, you know, like if you're speaking your mind or whatever, like people will not hear you when you fucking speak your mind, so it's okay, you know what I mean? It's okay, people won't hear you. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just say whatever I fucking want. It's like literally like people will be turned off because of fucking mind control. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, before getting on the Queen Street car, I was basically jumping on a fucking fire truck. You know, I was like, what's the suspension on this truck like? And then I was bouncing on it, sitting down. And I was like, yeah, no. I was like, I don't think it bounces very nicely. Like, and then I was like, what if I jumped on it? So I was like jumping on the bumper, and then like I get on, and the TTC doors are open or whatever, and the fire truck fumes are coming into the fucking, and like the fire truck, whatever, riders or spirits or whatever, we're like, let's make them laugh and like say that he's like, I love the smell of fire trucks in the morning. Because fire trucks do have a very particular stinky smell, you know? So that's a fireman joke that was like uploaded to my brain, in like the brain, because I'm totally brain machine interface. So like the fire truck people are like, we gotta make them laugh, and I'm like, you're not fucking making me laugh. Like I love napalm in the morning. Like I don't love fucking fire trucks in the morning. Like, you know. But like I don't like napalm either. So like I don't know why I said that. Like I'm just like I don't want to burn the whole world down. You know what I mean? If I can't leave, you know. Period. It's just like there's no interest in basically like burning anything down whatsoever. You know what I mean? So like napalm or like fire truck smell. It's like, okay, like fire truck smell, obviously. Like, you know, prefer the smell of fire truck smell. The fire trucks smell disgusting. Like you need like gigantic, big, dirty motors to like fucking power the fucking safety net of like, you know, keeping things from burning down. Or it's like realistically, like if we just built everything in the city, like, because like the buildings that we have in Toronto need like a lot of energy to just heat up. So it makes sense that like ironically the buildings in a cold environment would burn down because they need a ton of energy to survive. So there's like a ton of energy being put into them, and then if they're not built properly, they get burned down unless it's designed obsolescence. You know? And like why would you be designing buildings with the intention of burning them down? Like, you know, because it's just like, you know, there's, so like I don't necessarily agree with that either. And also it's like, well, some people got to learn to build things, you know, like, and then like some things are just too expensive to like, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. And I'm like, no, it's not. There's just people who just want to dedicate their energy to other things, you know, instead of like dismantling a building and then adaptive reuse or whatever, they just rather burn it down. I'm like, fuck you, like, don't burn shit down. Like, what's the point? If you're forcing people to participate, you know, like to the point where they're doing something over 100 times, like, it's like, and they got fucking memory problems, then like what you're doing is abusing, right? You're abusing and you're being selfish. So it's like, call it for what it is. Like, and it's just like, why are you doing this? Like the only reason, in my opinion, why you should be doing it and why I would consent to you doing it is so that basically like, you know, I get assisted suicide, basically. Like, that's all I want. You know what I mean? And if it's basically like you're going like,
me first, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, Harley, I'll help you with assisted suicide, but me first kind of thing. It's just like, the problem is, I'm so, whatever it is that's probably using me is probably so desperate that they're not interested in actually like helping me out after they're dead, basically. So they're going like, because if there's a gun on the table and it's loaded with one bullet that we know will kill, you know, we'll know that will destroy their brain or whatever, they just, and the brain and the gun will like self-destruct, like, but in a non-lethal way, like after it gets used, they're basically fighting for that gun. And I'm going like, hey, there's a problem. Like, we're basically all fighting over the same stupid fucking gun. I was like, we need more personal suicide devices, you know? The other thing is like, there's mind control, but then there's also brainwashing. So there's people who are brainwashed to think and like feel like they want to fucking help people, right? And that's totally fine. It's just like, help people who are asking to be helped. You know what I mean? Don't assert your like, you know, the way you think you're being helpful on other people, right? So help your fucking self. You know what I mean? Go do us all a favor and help your fucking self, right? And I'm saying like, hey, I'm never gonna be happy because there's a problem, because I got fucking memory problems. So like, as soon as I'm like Dory, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I know what I want. And I'm like, wait a second, no. After I get it, even I'm like, wait a second, this is not what I want. And then I go do something else, and I'm like, this could go on forever. No, thank you, right? Because at the same time, like, we're eventually just gonna come full fucking circle where we're like, okay, so basically you'll be doing stuff, right? And then you'll be like, oh no, I want this, and then I'm like, I know I want this, and then I don't want this, and then all of a sudden, like, your life just turns into one gigantic fucking deja vu where you're like, oh, I think this is what I want, and then you start doing it, and you're like, wait a second, you know, I've done this like at least 100 fucking times, like, let me go. Like, I would totally fucking sit in solitary confinement, you know, locked in a fucking room until like, you know, I'm like basically just like die of starvation and dehydration, and then like that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy to fucking do that. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's more likely, like, I was like, yeah, so like I'm all for basically solitary confinement because no one's gonna solve my fucking problems but me, right? And they're basically like, what's happening, I'm pretty sure, is like they're encouraging basically like the circulation of just problems, you know what I mean? So I was like, word. I was like, I kind of feel like a biological fucking weapon, you know what I mean? Basically just like being introduced into society and then fucking up everybody's like, you know, well-being. Like, I shouldn't be here, you know what I mean? You want to medicate me, that's totally fine, you know what I mean? Just call it for what it is. It's fucking mind control. So like, let me go. That's the other thing. Like, so like, I was looking at a truck, you know, like it's moving in the same direction as me. It'll move in the same direction as me way faster than I can get there, right? And I was like, maybe I could just jump on the back of the truck. They're not gonna know I'm there, right? Somebody's gonna know I'm there though, and somebody's gonna know that I'm not following the rules. And because I'm not following the rules, that qualifies me as getting fucked with, basically, right? And then if I'm fucking talking to myself and someone's going like, oh, you're schizophrenic, bro. It's like, oh, then I get fucking, that's a right for someone to get me fucking medicated for no fucking reason, essentially. When the reason is I'm getting fucking like remotely fucking abused. So it's like, fuck off. They're like, yeah, so if you're swearing in public, then that qualifies you to get like basically medicated as well, because you might be swearing around people who don't deserve to be fucking sworn around, right? Because they're innocent. And I'm like, that's fine. Remove me from society, please. Don't fucking medicate me. That's mind control. Fuck off. Like, literally, I'm asking for solitary fucking confinement. And they won't give it to me because there's no fucking room in solitary fucking confinement. They don't have enough fucking cells. Definition of leaving, there's resting in peace or whatever. But resting in peace does not, like, resting in peace implies that you're gonna wake up again. Because I'm pretty fucking sure that I've met people who have actually fucking lived lives before and then they're just waking up from fucking resting in peace. And I'm like, let's not. Like, let's not. Because the other thing is, it's basically like, it's like, oh, if you put it on YouTube or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, because the original intent, I think, was to basically like, oh, just take all the videos that we like mind controlled you to do or whatever, and then just like fucking like, you know, like take that and use it as like a sample for, you know, like going somewhere and doing something, just like we did with the fucking trim video that you did, like, you know, the carpentry video. Like, it was pretty cool or whatever, you know, like just like take that video and then go do something with it, you know, like go get a job somewhere else, right? Basically what they're doing, they're like, use that fucking video to go get a job somewhere else, right? And I'm like, no thank you, like I'm allowed to leave, thank you very much, like leave permanently, and that I don't have to go anywhere ever again, you know, like, you know, basically, like, I don't want to reward this, because basically what's happening is, like, I'm rewarding the people who are fucking with me, basically, like, remotely, I'm sure, possibly accidentally, but it feels like, it has felt like torture, and I'm like, I can't continue, you know what I mean? I've been raped too fucking far, so, like, I have to go, like, there's nothing, like, there's no reason for me to stick around, like, I don't care, like, I don't want you to repair the situation, because I don't think it should have happened in the first place. So if it shouldn't have happened in the first place, that's it. Like, you know what I mean? There's no, like, repairing a situation that shouldn't have fucking happened in the first place. There's zero tolerance. So, like, I'm allowed to leave. I'm sorry. It's not my fault you're afraid of death, right? Or getting people assisted dying. It's not my fucking fault. Like, but it's gonna happen, whether you guys like it or not. Like, I'm like, the last set part of that video, I was waiting for food and coffee, and I'm like, you know what, I don't know how long I'm gonna be, because, like, I've waited up to, like, fucking 10 minutes for, like, a coffee, you know, so I'm like, I'm just gonna start recording, and then they're like, I'm talking, and they're like, here's your food, fucking stuff your fucking face so you don't fucking talk, like, yeah, so that's what's going on at all times, basically. It's just like, yeah, right before you get to the point, it's like, the point gets taken away. The other thing is, I don't like the motivation of fucking fear, you know what I mean? So I just called someone out, because I was like, yeah, I felt like I was targeted and fucking brought down. Realistically, the person who maybe targeted me probably targeted me because they were fearful for themselves, right? You know, and they're just trying to make their life easier. But realistically, the problem is there's no bridge of communication. So, like, if we're viewing each other from, like, different sides, and we know that we can't empathize because there's no fucking bridge, then, like, we may make each other out to be the enemy. You know what I mean? But I was so fucking zoned out on, like, you know, just, like, the environment or whatever, I didn't necessarily, like, think or care or whatever. So they probably were looking at me like, look at this fucking retard, like, talking to thin air. Like, they're obviously contaminated with something. We gotta just stay separated. We can't build bridges with this fucking person. Like, they're so fucking crazy, they're talking to themselves, you know? And I'm like, I was just not fucking judging whatsoever, just, like, you know, doing my thing, you know, like, playing with rocks, kicking the fucking snowball around, you know, like, literally just, like, waiting to get assisted dying, and then someone's just making my life a hell of a lot worse because they're, like, looking at me fucking judging, basically, and I'm like, I'm done, you know what I mean? Like I'm literally just trying to be scientific about things, you know what I mean? Like, I'm literally just, like, in my own fucking universe, like, because I'm like, I don't want to fucking judge anybody, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather not, like, so let's just let me go, like, and then the other thing is, like, somebody said to me, like, somebody programmed me, they were like, yeah, nobody really does anything unless they're fearful, right? Like, fear is a powerful motivator. I'm like, yeah, it is, but, like, it's not sustainable, and, like, it just generates more fear. So if you go down the path of fear, like, if somebody's using the path of fear to motivate you to do things, you're going to use the path of fear to try to get what you want, and it might work, like, momentarily or whatever, or you could have a long spell, but basically, like, if you're having a long spell with regards to fear being a motivator for, like, working on others, so if you're using a fear tactic and it's working, it's probably because you're actually benefiting the fear model system, right? So it doesn't mean that, I don't actually think it works, you know? I honestly don't think it works, but, like, if you're benefiting that system and you're having, like, a long spell of fear working in your system, then it's probably because you just don't know any better, you know what I mean? Because, like, literally, like, it's like, yeah, things have to change, right? So if you're in the fear system, it always has to get scarier and scarier, right? And then to the point where, you know, like, you don't, like if you want to get scary, like, I can fucking show you scary, but I'm like, I'd rather not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't actually think we need to, like, show the scary. I don't actually think we need to be scary, you know what I mean? I think being scary is just a big waste of fucking time, you know? But, like, you know, like, because there's always a bigger fish concept, right? Like fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, like in the submarine with Jar Jar Binks, you know, getting chased by a big fish, and then you know, the one Jedi says to the other Jedi, like, there's always a bigger fish. Don't worry about the fish chasing you. There's always a bigger fish. And Obi-Wan Kenobi's like, what the fuck you talking about, man? That fish just bit our fucking submarine. He's like, don't worry about it. Jar Jar Binks is like flipping out. He's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna die, you know. And the fucking oldest one of them is like, don't worry, we're not gonna die, guys. There's always a bigger stupid fucking fish. So that basically, like, while I'm making decisions in the dark. You know what I mean? I'm like, literally, they're like, let's see what fucking decisions he makes while he's in the dark. You know, basically. And I'm like, oh, so I'm a fucking experiment. But they're not gonna volunteer that I'm a fucking experiment. They just go like, well, because you're an experiment, we're just you're so fucking experimental that you're not allowed to know that you're a fucking experiment. And then when you figure it out, it's like, what you gonna do? Like, I'm gonna request assisted dying because, like, I did nothing wrong. What you gonna do when they come for you, bitch? It's like, I didn't want to communicate all this stuff. Like, I would have just happily have, like, DIY'd, like, totally, like, left on my own accord. But, like, I wasn't allowed to. You know what I mean? And then it's just, like, at the same time, like, if information is currency, right? Then, like, you know, I've been given, like, some bullshit, essentially. Like, they literally monopolized the information that I had so that I couldn't, like, you know, fucking defend myself. The other thing is, like, you know, if it cost $100 or whatever to get assisted dying, I'd totally be fucking working. I'd totally do that. I'd be like, oh, that's reasonable, you know, like, you know, I got to pay for the electricity bill for the fucking assisted suicide department, you know, because it's a service, right? So it's like, yeah, definitely, like, oh, it's like, okay, you know what I mean? Definitely, like, I'll work for like $100. Like, what do you need me to do? It's like, this is what I can do, right? I want to be on record saying that, like, I'm totally vegan, right? Trying to be vegan. And also, like, I'm so fucking vegan, I'm going to make friends with the fucking robots. I'm going to make friends with the fucking environment. I'll talk to a fucking piece of sand, I'll talk to literally any inanimate object, you know, and treat it with as much respect as I would with my body, you know? Because, like, I don't know, maybe everything's actually secretly alive, you know? Like, everything around you at all times, it's like fucking secretly alive. Like, what about the Force, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, yeah, like, we want you to be like a Jedi. Because, like, maybe somebody's going, like, they're like, yeah, we actually want to see you be like a Jedi. And I'm like, word, I'd love to be like a fucking Jedi, like, you know, bro down with the Force wherever you are at all times, you know what I mean? Like, and then just, the problem is, like, you know, there's, yeah, they engineered me to be stupid enough to be fucking manipulated at all times, right? And then they fucking complain when I swear because I don't have the ability to fucking use the English language like someone who's, you know, who's gone to university and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm really fucking annoyed. Like, and it's literally like that. It's like, oh, and it's like, while we're fucking with you, Harley, mind your language, please. And I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but I just received a robocall again. And to my surprise, I was like, okay, this is clearly a robocall again. It looks like the same number that called me on the way into the train station. So it's hilarious because, like, you know, they're just like, oh, he's leaving the train station. Let's just, like, for synchronicity purposes, let's just, like, fucking robocall him while he's exiting the fucking train station. And I'm like, okay, you know. To be fair, guys, you didn't get me as I was on the way out of the fucking train station. I technically didn't leave the train station yet, so you didn't necessarily flawlessly fucking execute that, bitches. But, like, the point is, like, I was basically trying to document. I was like, okay, here's the call. Here is a robocall. And then I went to swipe down. You know, when you take your screen and you just swipe down, and then there's the settings that says, like, and then you can click, like, record screen. And then you click record screen, and then it does a little countdown, like 3, 2, 1, and then it goes, all right, recording screen, and it will, like, record your screen. It can record what your phone is saying, and then in addition to what your phone is saying, it can record you speaking. So it's like, I was like, I'm getting a robocall. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do about it. I'm gonna fucking record it, right? So I, like, open my phone. I'm like, okay, here's the robocall.
And then I go to swipe down to find the record section, and I can't fucking find no recording section. Right? So like everything stops. So like I have to use my fucking face, and I have to advocate for myself and other people that like, you know, I can't record the fucking robocalls that are anonymously targeting me for whatever reason, for like anonymous purposes. And it like makes me sick. You know, it makes me sick that I can get called from a number that I'm not familiar with, right? For basically like, and then like I'm just sitting there fucking listening to a fucking robocall that's not relevant, and then if I try to fucking report it, basically, there's nothing I can do about it, right? So there's stuff like this that's going on, right? But then there's also like psychic assaults. So like I'm gonna hold this, like literally what I think is going on is there's a group of people who've got psychic abilities, and then they just go like, they're looking at me and they're going like, and I'm just like going about my day or whatever, and then I'm like, wait a second, what the fuck? Where did this thought come from, right? And it's literally like I'm getting thoughts because like there's somebody like over there basically going like at me, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, where am I? Like, what's going on, right? But somebody's going like, you know, and that's what fucking robocalls are. Robocalls are just like the equivalent of somebody just going like, you know, and I'm going like, oh, where did that come from? You know, and then I have to mime it out because they're like, we want to see you fucking mime it out. We want to see you fucking mime everything out. You know, by the way, watch your language, bitch. So yeah, when you're basically having a bunch of like, in my opinion, remote fuckery happening to you, like at all times, you're literally like, you don't know it's remote fucking because you're an innocent person, right? And you have no idea that like, you literally have like no idea that you're being remotely fucked with, right? Because somebody just, I don't know, they literally just put a label on you with regards to like artificial intelligence, just making your life a living hell, right? And then you're basically like going around at all times. And then like the thing is like the reporting, like the other, like the people can actually participate in the system. So like they'll ramp it up, you know what I mean? It stops being like artificial, and then it starts being like almost like gang avoidance, and then gang stalking, and then basically just gang banging. And I'm like literally like, I'm not in a fucking gang, so like why? And they're like, well, do you want me to crew up or something? It's just like, I'm not supportive of gangs. You asked me to fucking, you want me to get a gang? It's just like, get me the fucking gang suicide, you know? Like, I'm fucking alone. Like, let me blow my head off. Like, I'm happy to do that. Like, you know, I don't support like, you know what I mean? Like, because if you're in a group, you know, you're just subject to the biggest fucking group. So like, why don't we all just be individuals together, yo? Every fucking urinal I've ever been to does this. You know, this one's nice. It has, it's got like this, so that when you pee on it, the fucking water's, oh, yo, it's flushing. Holy fucking shit. It flushed. But did you see how much it flushed just there? But it doesn't drain, you know? So like literally, the dudes wash always fucking smell. They always smell. And I'm like, holy fuck shit, like, I don't know what else to do. Like this, it flushed this time, right? But, and I'm sure like, and I had this conversation over the phone, or I think I was talking to somebody about it, but basically I was like, yeah, I'm sure when they like designed and built this, it like worked flawlessly, right? In my opinion, it's fucking hacked so that like public washrooms just fucking stink at all times. You know what I mean? To encourage people to get their own fucking washrooms so that like we're all fucking hamsters on a wheel for basically like, what do you call it? Not like globalization. You're on the hamster on a wheel for globalization, but then also gentrification as well. And then also not just gentrification, but like colonization and like expansion of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, if we make your place fucking uncomfortable to be in, you're gonna want to go somewhere else, right?
That's what it's about at all fucking times. I'm like, literally, like, I'm done. I'm so fucking done. Like, assisted death is like all I need at this point. Like, you know, like I work pretty hard to do everything. Like, I'm like everybody works pretty hard to do things. You know what I mean? And then it's just like the sensor. You know what I mean? That sensor. I got no problem with it, and I think it probably works just fine. But like, what if, you know, whenever I'm in the vicinity of something like that sensor, it just magically doesn't work? Today, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking film this thing. And it actually flushed. And oh, look at that. It fucking drained too. It fucking drained. It drained. You know, and it flushed. But like, every fucking time I've been in this, like, literally almost once a day for 3 months, I've been in this washroom at least. And every time, the urinal is full of urine, it smells, and like, I can't even have it, like, and then like, you know, occasionally one guy in the emergency department was like, he's like, why do you treat me so badly? And I was like, what are you fucking talking about, dude? I was like, literally, I'm here to get assisted dying because I'm putting up with a bunch of basically like remote controlled fuckery, basically. Remote control fuckery. And I'm like, I can't do anything about it. I can bitch and complain, but I actually think they want me to bitch and complain because they think it's funny. Yeah, so realistically, like, when I describe, like, if I'm just like consciously being bothered by something, and I'm like, okay, well, how do I get more comfortable and also address this so I'm no longer uncomfortable? Because, like, yeah, I'm just trying to, like, I'm like, how do I stop myself from being uncomfortable? And it's just like, because if I can prevent myself from being uncomfortable, then like I'm probably going to help others out too with regards to their comfortability and enjoyment of life, right? But then when I'm working on basically figuring out how to get more comfortable, but also like address problems, I just get more just fucking piled on me every time. Just like, it's just like I just get more like, and then I'm like that. So basically, it's like what the Matrix or fucking reality or whatever Planet Earth 42 fucking simulation is doing is basically like, they're like, oh, this makes you uncomfortable? You have an involuntary response to being uncomfortable right now? You think this is uncomfortable? Like, I'm gonna show you what's uncomfortable. And I'm like, I can't scream right now. There's a child over there just drinking out of a water fountain, so I gotta be quiet. Like, I just have to laugh at all times. Like, I can't even rage right now. Yeah, so it's pretty much like, describe the problem. You know, describe the problem, describe what's going wrong, and then at the same time it's just like, well, I can't describe what's going wrong. Because every time I'm like about to get to the point of like describing like fully like what's going wrong, I get distracted. Okay, and the reason the scene with the bomb planted in someone's head is relevant is because I've actually fucking seen that happen with people that I care about, where they just literally just like, bleh, and then they're just dead. And then they don't remember things, and I'm like, okay. So like, literally I'm alone at all times. And then the other thing is it happens to me too, right? But I'm consciously aware of like, there's degrees of bombs going off in people's heads, right? So like, literally, a good one, for example, is like, you know, I'm just walking around and then I get a robocall, right? That robocall is for something that's not related to me at all, right? And, you know, I answer my phone because it's a form of fucking communication, and it's free, and it should be accessible to everybody,
right? And literally I'm just like going around, and then like, yeah, I get this like I'm thinking on like how to proceed in life, like just mindfully and like being as kind as possible. And then like I'm like, okay, I think I got a direction that I want to take, and then like magically I just get a fucking robocall, that's saying like I owe $700 when I don't, I straight up don't. And it's basically like, in my opinion, it's like yeah, it's like I got that robocall because somebody understood that I was making progress with the direction that I wanted to take, and then literally just shot me down. Like I'm being honest and caring at all times. And then like when I'm like, yes, this is how to like, demonstrate, like this is how I want to proceed or what I want to do or whatever. And then I get a fucking robocall that I'm like, oh, hold the phone, right? Like I'm like, I don't know who's trying to reach me, so I'll answer, right? And then it's like, it's literally, it's basically the equivalent of a bomb going off in my head, because like all of a sudden my whole fucking morning is completely distracted by a false robocall that's not even relevant to me, right? And then if I try to document it, I'm not like equipped to basically document or defend like I can't fucking defend myself from just anonymous fucking robocalls that are just like, in my opinion, designed to fuck with me, right? So like if I can't like stop them from happening, I can't even record them while they're happening, right? To verify that they're happening, and like pissing me off and just like wasting a bunch of my time. And I'm like, the only thing I can really do is basically walk around like a schizophrenic, bitching about it, right? And then like freaking other people out for no reason because I'm being taken out of context. Or I can like video record myself, right? Which I think is probably the accurate thing to do, is just video record myself basically like talking about my problems. So like literally so like on a really micro scale, robocalls are a blessing in disguise, because they're basically what's going on with everybody at all times with regards to, in my opinion, targeted psychic fucking assault. So it's like, yeah, like if somebody's basically like making progress or whatever, literally something like the evil fucking underground, like not underground, but just like deceitful organization or whatever, like it's just like, I don't know, it could even just be autonomous, like accidental, you know what I mean? They just like literally mark someone to just get disturbed whenever they're making progress with whatever they want to do, you know what I mean? And it's like a brain machine interface. So it's literally like, you know, if you get marked, like you're like, okay, this person right here is not in line with everything that we want. So like, we'll put a chip in their brain so that when they think that they are getting or moving in a direction with whatever they want, right? Like a little alarm bell will go off and it'll be like, okay, this person thinks they're moving in a direction that they want. Send the fucking robocalls in, send the fucking psychic assaults in, and then I'm just like, oh, okay. And then I'm literally just like, and I'm like, no wonder why I'm fucking homeless. It's because they want me to be homeless, because they're like, well, we just want people, you know, populating the city, just standing around, because like it helps the people who are fully mind controlled, you know, to feel like they're human beings, because there's like other human beings around them at all times, right? And I'm like, fuck my life. I literally like, I don't want to participate, but they're forcing me to participate. They're forcing me to participate. They're forcing others to participate in their agenda, which is secretive. Or if it's not secretive, it's just so complicated that like we're not supposed to know. And then if you do get kind of an insight as to maybe like that, like maybe it's so complicated that you're not allowed to know, you're like, oh, I'd like to try to figure stuff out. And then like when you're starting to figure stuff out, you're going like, well, all the arrows are pointing in some like pretty fucked up things. Like it's pointing in some pretty fucked up directions. And I was like, it's getting hard to like fucking find the silver lining. Like And I'm like, okay, like it just continuously gets harder and harder to find the silver lining. And I'm like, I'm not exactly interested in that. I'm not interested in like having an existence where finding the silver lining is harder and harder. You know? At this point, like, the silver lining is basically like that. It's exactly that. It's like life is just gonna get harder and harder and harder. And the only solution, in my opinion, is basically not being consciously alive anymore. So that I don't have to fucking find a silver lining. You know what I mean? And if you need justification for assisted suicide, that's it. That's the fucking reason. Yeah, and I wasn't recording, so I was basically like, yeah, I wanted to make a video, not because I want to make a video. I was like, there's a scene that I saw that makes perfect sense, which was Mission Impossible. I can find the scene, but it's cut short, just shy of the actual 10 seconds that I was looking for. So basically it's like a long movie basically, but like they find basically an agent gets captured and then they have a bomb put in their brain. So if they basically, the criminal organization was like, okay, we'll plant a bomb inside the captured agent's brain so that if they get captured back, we'll just like boop, and then they'll just be like, they're dead. Like, so like if we basically like tell them like, you have to do what we say or we're gonna blow your head off, kind of thing. Just like in Suicide Squads, the movie Suicide Squads, it's the exact same thing. It's literally like a kill switch for someone's body and consciousness. And I'm like, okay, but like that's an old idea. And then the other thing is I can't fucking find it. I can't find the Mission Impossible scene, like, and I found the scene, but then it's cut short of the 10 seconds that I'm looking for. And then the reason it's cut short of the 10 seconds that I'm looking for, apparently, is because I think brain-machine interfaces already exist, and they're like, okay, well, let's introduce this idea to him, see if he looks it up, and then deny him the ability to fucking actually use, like, we'll implant his brain with the idea that he's already seen and familiar with, right? And then when he wants to communicate it, we basically keep him like a hamster on a wheel so that he can't actually like access the last 10 seconds of the fucking movie scene that is relevant to what he's talking about at all times. So it's basically like, yeah, they'll be like, oh, well, he's seen this. It's like, okay. It's like, yeah, that's useful. And then when I go to show people like what I've fucking seen, I can't fucking find it. So I'm like literally miming it out on a fucking video screen at all times. And I'm like, they want to see my face. They want to see my face so that they know that I'm telling the truth. Okay, so this is what I feel like at all times whenever I'm doing something. And then like literally like, yeah, like I'm like, you know, Mission Impossible, like I'm like, okay, mission success, like I got whatever I needed to do done or whatever, and then like, you know, I'm like leaving or whatever, and then basically like, you know, being effective or whatever, and I can't find
2054. And looking back, the movie did an incredible job of predicting the technology that would come in the following decades. Boards with facial recognition cameras built in to instantly identify a shopper's age and gender as they walk past, and serve them relevant ads. This program was developed to be anonymous, but it's easy to imagine the short leap to true individualized personalization, especially now that facial recognition cameras and images are becoming so much more common. The FBI, for example, has access to more than 411 million face images, according to a 2016 Government Accountability Office report. That database is used for criminal investigation, not ads. But just 16 years after Minority Report, we have a lot of the pieces of the technology the movie imagined wouldn't come until 2054. So while we wait, how about that Guinness, John Anderton?
Gourmet cuisine.
Try one night. You can use a Guinness.
Let's not lose our cool. Then we're no better than the machine. It's almost 7. I gotta go. No!
So like basically like I have a phone and it's basically like just like creating more work for me than I actually like, you know, need. So like I got a call from Amazon and it's saying like, oh, like your payment was declined or whatever. Your payment needs to be made for like $700 or whatever. I don't have an Amazon. Well, I was like, I haven't bought on anything on Amazon, so like that makes no sense. Like I was like, and then I was like, oh, I'll just like hit the screen microphone record function while this like automated call is annoying the shit out of me, so I can like basically capture it and then post it in my journal so that like, you know, the people who are investigating like why I'm so pissed off all the time can like, you know, basically get pissed off by like going through listening to a fucking stupid fucking robocall like, you know, decline payment fucking thing, you know, like, and they can go through it with me, you know what I mean? Otherwise, like, I'm like fucking at a loss. I'm like, I don't know what else to do. The thing is though, I couldn't actually record it, you know? So like, I'm like, okay, like, so in the 5 seconds that like the call is being, like I picked up, right? And then I'm like, I'm listening and it's saying like, this is an Amazon call from your payment for like $700 was declined or whatever. I'm like, okay. I'm like, hold on a second, automated robot call. Like, let me record this conversation so I can post in my little bitch journal. And then when I'm doing that, I put the phone to my head again because I think I'm recording it, and then it's not working because the call ended, you know. And I'm like, okay, story of my life. So like literally, like I'm like, okay, you can't even like, you know, basically like record what's going wrong. You know what I mean? I'll be like, yeah, I get these calls all the time, right? But then I don't have a system for basically like recording the pre-recorded fucking messages. You know what I mean? To like show that like I'm getting fucking pre-recorded fucking messages. The other thing I fucking swear is I was like, asking, oh, I'd like to crush this ice cube with a fucking car tire, right? And then like, sure enough, it works, but then like reality compromises just because it's like, it's compromising. And I'm like, okay, stop right there. And then literally like someone comes around the corner, like as I'm filming me myself kicking the ice cube into the street, you know? Like the entire time I walked, like most of the fucking morning, I've been walking around, like, there was like literally, like for a majority of the time that I was kicking ice cubes around on the street, there was nobody on the street. And then like, so like, I'm like, okay, I'll just kick this like into the fucking intersection, cause like, and then someone just like shows up around the corner, you know what I mean? Like, it's like that ice cube, like that's what I want to happen in my head, you know, like fucking crushed by a car tire, like too little like slushy consistency, like ice crush, you know, like. Fucking filming this bullshit. Well, let's put it into traffic. No. Wanted the ice cube into traffic. Wanted to get it run over by a car. Yeah!